Hello artists, welcome to your clay koi fish class. In front of you should have your piece of clay. Underneath it, you should have your wax paper. And then underneath your wax paper, please have your paper plate. And this is just an easy way to kind of carry your art piece a little bit later. So again, your clay, your wax paper, and then your paper plate. Be sure to have a cup of water, a large brush, a small brush, a colored pencil. It doesn't matter what color you have. We're going to use it just to carve later. A paper towel. And then for your colors, you should have orange, and then your white and your black. The first thing we're going to do with our clay is turn it into a ball shape. So take your hand in almost like a C and backwards C shape. Just kind of go back and forth like a baseball and get your clay piece into a nice round shape. And we're going to do this for about 30 seconds to a minute. We're going to get all those bubbles out in the center. But you can just kind of go back and forth. Don't worry about the cracks on the clay. You just want it to get it into a nice round shape. The C, backward C shape of your hand. Turn it as you need, but slowly but surely you're getting a nice round baseball shape. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my colored pencil and we're going to break our clay up. It'll be 30% of our clay is going to be where we're going to use it for the fin and for the fin, and then the 70% is going to be made for the body. So I'm just going to use my colored pencil to kind of carve into it a little bit. See how there's definitely more on the left side than on the right side. And then I can just kind of split. Doesn't have to be perfect. I can kind of split those two and put the smaller bit aside and hold on to the larger piece where we're going to use it for the body of the koi fish. So again, use your colored pencil to carve, just tear apart, put away the smaller piece and hold on to the larger piece. For the larger piece, we're going to make it into a long cylinder shape. So all you have to do is just kind of roll your piece of clay like so in your arm, or excuse me, in your hands. Kind of go back and forth as you're just kind of lengthening the ends. And the size of it is about the size of half of your paper plate. So this is kind of like the center of my paper plate. This is the bottom of my paper plate. So you want your cylinder to be about that large. Even squeeze it, get it to a nice cylinder shape. And one of the sides is going to be the tail, and one of the other sides is going to be the face of the koi fish. It doesn't matter which one at this time. You just want to get it to a nice cylinder shape. And we'll kind of work at that in just a moment. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to take one of the sides. Again, you can choose whichever one you want. Just choose this one. And I'm going to just make sure it's nice and round. So I want to make sure it's a nice round. So this part is curvy where the face is going to be. You can even use your finger, dip it into your cup of water, so your pointy finger, just kind of smooth it and kind of help it move a little bit easier. So that's where the face is going to be. It's going to be nice and round. Again, you can use your pointy finger. Don't get it too wet. Just kind of smooth it out to get a nice round face. Make sure it's pretty smooth. And once you're done, you can take the other end and just kind of thin it out a little bit, because that's where the tail is going to be. So it goes from the big head to more of a point where the tail is going to be. And again, you can use your finger to kind of smooth the body out a little bit more. And now it has gotten a little bit longer, so it's past that halfway point. The tail is starting to form, the face is rounded. Again, if you want it to go out a little bit further, you can, but now you can kind of see how long that koi fish is. You can use your fingers to smooth it out. Do your best to get the cracks out of the clay, the bumps out of the clay. You're slowly starting to form the body. Get it nice and clean. For the tail, I am going to kind of go with a little of a pinch. So I have the face. This is the end. I'm going to pinch my tail. So again, kind of like that duck quacking movement. And I'm just going to pinch a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. Get that a little bit flat. You can even pinch the ends of those too, and some can be going lower, some can be higher. If some of it breaks off, you can always grab a little bit more clay. Just kind of attach it and patch it up a little bit and use your water to kind of smooth it out. But be sure it's not too delicate. You don't want any of it to fall off too easy. But again, I'm just kind of pinching the ends. That looks a little bit too delicate too. I might add a little bit more on this side. This is just the tail, and all I did was pinch, going in there with this movement. I might have made it too thin. I'm going to roll some back in. I went out too far, so I'm just going to roll some back in, then continue to pinch it. I thought I could patch it up, but I just kept going for it. So then I'm just going to fold some in, and I can smooth it out with some water. And this is going to be kind of like the top area right here. Here's some water to smooth this part out. Bringing some more in still. Seems too delicate. Just felt like it was going to fall through my fingers. Go in there and hold it carefully and smooth everything out. And if you wanted to pinch the ends, you can get that kind of movement with the clay. Really pretty. Okay, make sure it's not too thin. You can add a patch to it a little bit more, or just kind of fold it in to where it's not too delicate. And I do want this to be a little bit thinner, so I am going to kind of go in there and pinch the area right before, a little bit more so it's thinned out. Really pretty. This is the front. A little bit more smooth. Sometimes as I'm working my clay, I accidentally get my fingers in other areas, so you can always go back and double check, make sure everything is nice and clean, nice and smooth. So you can see that shape. Again, I kind of went in there and pinched in this shape a little bit more. Make sure it sits nicely on your plate so it is easy to carry on later. So we went from a cylinder to a rounded face, to kind of pushing in the tail, and then just kind of pinching around. Once you're done, you can just grab a small piece of clay, about this much. We're going to make the fin on top. I'm going to start off with just kind of like a snake roll. And it doesn't go all the way up to the head, so I just kind of left a little bit of space in the head area. So if you just want to take a pinch of your clay, roll it up in your hands. Don't attach it just yet. You want to kind of leave a little bit of space for the face. Make sure I get all those little areas, right? Sometimes when I hold it and I don't place it on my plate, it gets a little bit wobbly, but I think we're good. Get that in there. Perfect. All right, we are going to attach this, but instead of me just kind of putting it right on there, we're going to do something called scoring and slipping, where we're going to scratch it where we want it to attach. So I'm going to scratch it here and here, so those two areas are going to touch, and I'll also add a little bit of water. So with your colored pencil, you're just going to go in there and maybe scratch diagonally, coming down, and maybe come up the other way, almost like you're crossing X's, but just kind of like little scratches. And then where we want it to attach, it's pretty much from here to here. So I'm going to be going in there and just kind of scratching it. It's a bit of a scoring our clay. Little scratches, not too hard. Then you can add a little bit of water, so a little bit of the slip on the two areas where they attach. You just can place one on the other and push down on the ends. Make it kind of blend in with everything else. So you're just kind of having it work in on the ends, like so. And it's absolutely up to you, but if you wanted to kind of pinch this part a little bit as well, if you wanted to kind of keep it the shape it was, you can, or you can just kind of go in there from one end to the other and just pinch it a little bit. You can. And then use your finger, just your pointy finger, because you don't want it too wet, and a little bit of water. And that'll help it kind of smooth out, kind of get the cracks out. You do want the ends to be on there nicely, so that end and that end really blends in. And we scored, which we made those little scratches. We slipped when we added a little bit of water, and it creates this glue that holds the two pieces together much better than it did before, than if we were just to put one on top of the other. Perfect. Once you're done, you can go ahead and start making the two fins. But again, take your time with this part. But once you're done, you can just take a piece of clay, not too much bigger than maybe this size, and roll it up into a ball. And this is going to be one of the fins. So I'm going to start out with a ball, and I'm going to put one up here and one over here, but I definitely want to get the shape, and then I'm going to score and slip. And since I'm doing two of them, I'm going to try to get the shape of the ball around the same size. So maybe around the similar size, grab a piece. So those are about the same. For the shape, same old, same old. I'm just going to use my finger to just kind of pinch it. Get it nice and flat, almost like a pancake. I'm going to go all the way around. And I do want the shape to be a little bit different than a pancake shape, so I'm going to form it a little bit. But again, be sure you have two sets, so you want these two round shapes. Make sure they're pretty similar in size. You can go ahead and make both of them into kind of a pancake. And in just a moment, I'll show you how I'm going to shape these fins a little bit more. I have two pancakes, similar in size. I am going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to stack one on top of the other, and then I'm going to use my colored pencil to carve. It's almost like I'm cutting almost like a C shape in there. So I'm going to go inside, and just on the top, excuse me, of my clay shapes. Just going to create a C shape, a little bit of a curve. This is the halfway point, so just a little bit to the right. Go in there and I'll carve all the way through. And that's going to be your two fins. So again, my two pancakes, I piled one on top of the other, just kind of went into there and made almost like a C shape. I'll put this right side away, And then I'm going to use these as the two fins. So now I know that they're the same size. And before I just add them on there, remember I'm going to score and slip to where I'm going to scratch up the two places that I'm going to attach. And then I'll add a little bit of water. So I'm going to scratch, let's see, this is the front part of this fin right here. You don't want it too close to the head. Maybe right about the same area where this one begins, I can score the side of the koi fish. This area where it's kind of harder to get into, but, and then I can add some water, and then just kind of push the two together. Help it kind of blend a little bit better too. If you need it to lean on your plate or could be a little bit lower on your plate, you can kind of start a little bit lower as well. I'm just going to pinch a little bit too so it's more round and not as harsh. So score, slip, and if you wanted to pinch the fin a little bit. Kind of get it to that same shape as the fin above. And then I'll use some water to help that piece attach a little bit more. If it's being a little bit wobbly, you can add more clay to it, make it a little bit thicker, or you can just have your fin a little bit lower down on the plate to where it doesn't have to move too much. And don't feel like it has to be perfect the first time. You're definitely going to go in there and kind of help it move together a little better. I'm going to move mine back just a tad. Same on this side. I'm going to score, so I'm going to scratch up where the two meet. Where this one kind of comes in that way, so it's almost like a C and a backward C. I'm going to add some water where I just scored. I'm going to make sure it's as even as possible on both sides. And blend it in, make sure that it looks like it's really attached. And pinch it as well. It's an extra little piece. Kind of pinching the ends, having it kind of come in towards the body, kind of like the other one. Form my clay a little bit better. There we go. Smooth out some of those bumps. Go in there and kind of curve that a little bit more. And I'll make two little mini fins back here, and then we can start painting in just a moment. And it's almost like the same idea as these. You're gonna roll up two balls, but they're gonna be pretty small. Pancake them, cut that C shape, and then attach the two, but they're pretty mini fins back back in the area closer to the tail. All right, I'm gonna get a really small piece of clay, roll up into the ball, and again, if you're working on any of the other pieces, that is totally fine. Take your time. I'm gonna break it up into two, smush little mini pancakes. There's one, there's two. Stack one top the other. And I'll use my colored pencil or my carving tool to kind of make that C shape. Almost looks like I'm cutting out a shape of a moon. Put the right side away of these two kind of C shapes. Separate and then attach back here. Scoring and slipping. And this one is right about here, so this is the very end of it. So not even an inch down. I'm gonna score. And slip and attach. And it kind of help them blend together a little bit easier by just kind of pushing down on it. You can pinch the tail a little bit, just a little bit, or excuse me, the fin a little bit, just to kind of give it a little bit of texture at the end. So one. I'm going to do the same thing with this one right here. So again, they're both kind of caving in. I'm going to, oops, sorry. Clean my hands for just a second. Then I'm going to attach the other one, again, making it look kind of like a backward C. Always getting messy with these projects. It's a good thing. All right, I'm going to grab a colored pencil. I'm going to score it, and then slip, slip, and again, this one kind of looks like it's a backward C coming in. And I'll attach. Kind of blend it in a bit better. Bring it to a point. And if it's too thin, you can make another ball shape. Split it in half, make your two pancakes, overlap them, so one over the other. And then cut, and score and slip to attach the shape of the fins. So this piece of clay is extra. So if you wanted to go back into your plastic bag and just put it in there, it should last about a week as long as that paper towel is nice and wet. You can actually have it nice and soft for a long time. If you wanted to, we're not going to do it in this class, but some extra things you can do. You could add just like little pieces to show pieces of scales, but we'll paint those on later. So that's up to you if you want to take if you wanted to take some extra pieces and just kind of put them here or there. You can add little whiskers if you want to as well. But for this project, we're just kind of keeping this basic shape and then painting on it. Again, before you get started, you want to make sure everything is nice and clean and ready to go. I'm going to give my clay about a minute to dry. You don't want it to be too dry, but Any spots that are really wet and shiny, I want to kind of give a moment before I start painting my fish. And I'm going to paint it all white first to cover up the clay, and then I'll go in there and add detail, so where it looks like I have scales and eyes and all that good stuff in just a moment. And we'll only be seeing the top part. This is air dry clay, so you're not going to be putting it in the oven. It's just going to dry naturally. So we're going to just kind of give it some time to dry. And it's decorative, so you can't really like do anything but let it just be a beautiful piece of art. You can't drink out of it, you can't eat off of it. It's just a beautiful decorative piece. All right, so I gave mine about a minute or so to dry. I'm gonna use my big brush. I'm not gonna get it wet, I'm just gonna dip it into my white, and the whole thing on top is gonna be painted white. So everything that I see that's clay on top, I'm gonna just completely cover it with white. Be very careful because your clay might still be pretty delicate, so you want to make sure it's all painted in white just to cover up all that clay. And don't worry about the bottom. Again, this is just a decorative piece, so you'll just see the top part of your koi fish. And if you are making any of those extra parts, you can. Just start with your white paint once you're done. Again, this is just my big brush and my white paint. To all those creases. Once I am done with my white, I am gonna let it dry for a little bit before I start adding any of my black or orange on top, only because I don't want them to mix with my white. I want the white to be nice and dry before I lay any orange or black on top. All that all covered. If you want to, you can even give it 2 coats of white, where you paint it once, give it a couple minutes to dry, and then go back and cover the whole thing in white again. But I'm just kind of painting anywhere that I see that's that gray clay. And the paints also last for a while, so once you're done, if you just put the caps on them, you can always go back and touch things up if you want to. But again, don't put them in the oven, it's just air dry clay. It's gonna dry naturally on its own. And once you're done, you can wash and dry your brush. And And again, give this a little while to dry, and then in a couple minutes, I will show you how to start painting your koi fish with some orange and black. I want everything to be nice and smooth, no bumps. If you miss some of the spots, it kind of takes away from it if you can see the clay, so you want to make sure you definitely cover up all that gray. We'll be painting our fins on there with black later, but if you made fins with clay, that's totally fine. You can do it either way. Not the fins, I'm sorry, the two little kind of antenna things that come out. Koi fish is painted white. It looks great. When you are done and you've given your paint a couple minutes to dry, you can wash your big brush as you're waiting for it to dry. And then you can start in with your small brush and your orange paint. And every time I push down, I'll show you an example on my paper towel. Every time I push down on my small brush and my orange paint, that's gonna kind of give it the look of the scales, so you can kind of constantly be moving your brush. And you could put the orange wherever you want on its body. If you want some up here, a little bit on the fins as you're kind of closer to the body. But truly, it's up to you. And we'll also be putting some black on there too, just to kind of create some lines on the fins and to kind of create some black scales as well. But I'm gonna start off with my orange. I'm gonna mostly concentrate on the body. And it's almost like I'm making a print, so I'm just using the shape of my small brush to create little clusters or little patches of orange. Again, you can do it as many as these as you want, and I'm just kind of pushing on the side of my small brush. You can do a little bit on the fence as well, but it's mostly going to be on the body area. They just kind of look like little patches, so little sections. Kind of running together too. Again, remember you're going to be going in there with some of your black as well. So leave some room to where you can see mostly white and then patches of orange and black. And I'm not going too much into the fins because those I'll add some lines in later. But you can kind of go a little bit towards the fins, the tail. You can add as much as you like. And of course, before we start doing the same thing with the black, we do want to make sure the orange is pretty dry. If the orange and the black are close to each other, we don't want them to mix. We want the orange to kind of be nice and bright, and the black to be nice and a solid black. So all three, so the white, the black, and the orange are all kind of working together. This looks so beautiful. Add a little bit up here. I'll be adding the eyes on the side a little bit later on, so you don't want to get too close to that area. There we go. While I'm waiting for my orange to dry, again, take your time, add as many scales as you like. I am going to use my small brush. I'm going to make some eyes for my koi fish. Again, I'm just going to be adding a little bit of black, just a dot on one side and a dot on the other side. Just kind of adding a dot on either side. And then very carefully, you can just go around it. If you wanted to bring your brush to a point too, might be too used, but I'm just gonna make a circle around that dot that I made. So I'm just gonna make one circle. So there's one eye. You can see that. And then the same thing, I'm gonna go completely around the other dot that I made with this circle. I'm going to be very careful with my orange because it does look like it's still wet. And you can bring your brush to a point. This one is kind of getting away from me, but I can go back over it. I have my other eye. And kind of avoid that orange scaly area. And then if you wanted to do those like whiskers, those barbells, then you can just make like little lines. Go back. So I'm just gonna a little bit of a whisker. Let me kind of hold it so it's a little bit easier. So just a little bit of a whisker, kind of going back. And same on the other side. So a little bit of black, kind of higher up where the nostrils would be. Just kind of going back from the nostrils. There you go. You can see that one a little bit better. And pushing back on this too. And then the mouth area. It's going to be a little bit lower down. It's kind of hard to show you guys, but just a line going side to side. Kind of making that line. I'm going to go a little bit further back with the mouth on the left side and the right side. So just kind of two whiskery areas going down the mouth, going side to side, close to the eyes. There you go. And then you can go in there and also add some lines to the fins. So if you wanted to go in there and add some lines to the fins. Be very careful. You can add some more lines of fins up here. And working out from the body. If the black isn't dark enough, you can always go back and give it another coat of black paint. I'm just going out from the body. Over here, you can go out from the body. Make some lines that are a little bit shorter with some lines that are a little bit longer. see that okay. I'm also going to go in there and make some scales too. So now I'm going to make sure I don't get too close to the orange because mine do still seem like they're a little bit too wet. But I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, where I'm just kind of pushing down on my brush to kind of get that same scaly look. Again, you can add as many as you want. These little patches of black to kind of finish off. Oh, I forgot to put some lines on this fin, so I can just go in there and make those lines going up. Make those lines just kind of going up. Another one go up there, go up there. I might go back over my black paint one more time just to get it a little bit darker. Give it just another moment to dry, but take your time, add as many scales. Here we go. I think I'm gonna bring my small brush to a point. Go back and give that black a second coat. But once you are done, if you wanted to check out anything to give another coat to, maybe do a little bit of a touch up, go back and give anything another coat. Kind of just make sure everything with your koi fish is nice and clean. You don't want to have any spots where it looks messy. I do love doing a second coat of black paint because it does make it more of a solid. You won't see as much of that white base kind of poking through. But as time allows, go ahead and touch up your koi fish. Get it exactly how you want it to be. And then you are going to be all done with your creation. Thank you so much, artists, for joining us. Hope your koi fish turned out great. And hopefully we will see you soon again.